If you want to get a bunch of wood easily and don't care that it's redwood specifically, then I can show you how I do it here. Also, I'm not going to claim that this little redwood tree farm thing is the best way to gather wood. I don't know if it is, and also gathering wood is pretty nice and easy in Hytale. So very understandable if this isn't like your cup of tea or go-to method for this. But for the people like me that really like this, and I think this is very nice and simple with how I have it set up here, then yeah, I'll show you. Alrighty, here is the base or blueprint for the redwood tree farm. Each spot here is for one redwood tree. They are 4 blocks away from each other, and every single row is offset from each other. So this row, they're all 4 blocks away, but then when you go to the next row, in this case, it's all shifted to the right by 1 block, and then you go to the next row and it shifts back to the left, and it just alternates like that when you keep going in this direction. And you can scale this in any direction. You can keep building these going this way, that way, this way, that way. As long as you keep this pattern, it seems to work fine. These blocks don't have to be made out of stone. You can choose to use whatever blocks you want. I put a little unique block in the center of every single one just to more easily align where I need to place the dirt. You're going to want to build up 3 blocks high with these dirt pillars. Plant your redwood tree saplings, and you're going to want to delete the 2 dirt blocks underneath. If you're wondering why we're having the trees floating here, that's because if you've noticed, if you've ever grown some trees before, or when you chop down a tree in Hytale, they have roots or their trunks go into the ground. So they will delete dirt under it and grow underground. And if you have blocks that it can't replace, like under the tree, like let's say a stone block here, which it cannot replace, then that will hinder its growth. Like it will not grow as big or tall if you hinder the growth like this. These down here are more so guides, just so that we know we want to plant 3 blocks tall here, and so that you know how to make the pattern. You might also be thinking, well, it's kind of annoying to build up 3 dirt every time and then get rid of the 2 under. And so you might think, well, why don't we place like a block next to it that won't get deleted by the tree? So stone, whatever. But this can still hinder its growth. Not completely, but it can sometimes hinder its growth, especially when growing next to other redwood trees. The trees in this game are a little funkier, or at least when compared to Minecraft, as I am and probably other people are pretty used to. But once you have all your trees in place, it will just take about 2 in-game days for them to grow. So just 1 day passes and they're pretty much already fully grown. But if you wait a little bit longer, they might grow a little bit more or change, but it seems like they're all pretty much fully grown. And you'll notice that there is this nice gap between the ground, or like the little stations here, and the tree. And that is very much on purpose, so that when you break one of the tree logs, it breaks the whole tree instantly. And so it makes it very easy to harvest. And so that is pretty much it. You just craft the redwood saplings, do that, collect, and you do have to keep replacing the dirt, which is annoying. But with how the mechanics of the trees work in this game, there's not really a good way around it. Now, dirt is really plentiful in this game, but if for whatever reason you wanted a more renewable version of dirt to use in the farm, even though it's literally everywhere, it's not a big deal. But there is a way to get renewable dirt. It's not really dirt, but it's a block that trees can grow on. So in the farmer's workbench in the decorative section, you can craft sandy gravel, all these different gravel types from any rubble. That's the important thing. Any of these soil blocks that you can craft out of just rubble is purely renewable. And that is because you can make a cobblestone generator in this game. So you might set up something like this, dig up your cobblestone, blah, blah, blah. And then you'll want to take your cobblestone to the salvager's workbench and just plop that in there, and it will turn it all into stone rubble. Now, stone rubble on its own is also pretty easy to come by, but then you can take the stone rubble to the farmer's workbench and craft yourself some red sandy gravel, or again, any of the other soil types that use rubble. And if we place it on the ground here and then place a sapling, you can see that it will actually plant on it and it will grow on this. Again, I do not think this is necessary, but if you're curious, that's a renewable block you can use for this since the trees do keep deleting the dirt. And if you're curious, 12 redwood spots would get you about half a double chest worth of logs and then get you about this many of the secondary resources. And for those that are also more curious, because I already showed you how to do the farm, just do the farm and you're good if you want to do the farm I have. But the rest of this video is just going to be talking more on the technical side of things or just going through like how I was figuring some of this out. But the reason why I have it patterned like that is, let me show you. If you kind of plant them more wildly around like here, I don't really know what the redwood trees restrictions are completely. That is still to be figured out. I actually tried looking in the code a bit. Well, not the code, but the easy to read JSON files. And I couldn't find any info on how they grow or their restrictions from. But regardless, from my testing, they are a bit finicky when you're growing a bunch of them near each other. And so if you just kind of plant them haphazardly like this, then they might not grow properly. So if we pass the time, and most of them grew, but yeah, this one did not fully grow, but the rest of them actually grew pretty well. So you can get lucky and a lot of them grow. This one turned out to be a little, oh wait, no, that one's not that much smaller. But yeah, you might get the odd tree or two that doesn't grow properly. For like a more haphazard approach, like it works fine. But if you want like a guaranteed every single tree spot will get you a fully grown tree, then that's what this pattern over here guarantees you. This was the pattern I was able to come up with that lets you be compact, give you fully grown redwood trees, and is easy to be modular to expand in any of the directions and still work. I wouldn't be surprised if there's maybe a better pattern, but this is what I was able to find. Now, this pattern was made for redwood trees, tested with redwood trees, and the reason I say that is because you can try and plant some other tree types using this pattern, and some of them will work. Some of them will work just okay or just fine or good enough, but there are some tree saplings in this pattern that will not, like they'll just straight up not grow or they will grow poorly. So for example, this is what will happen if you plant oak trees here. As you can see, they grow and it's generally fine, but also some of the oak trees are a bit lackluster. But yeah, this pattern, you can see, although technically works, is not optimal for oak trees. But hey, maybe I'll spend some time someday and try and figure out patterns for other trees in case you want to farm a specific type of tree for like building block purposes. But I focus mainly on the redwood tree because it's a really good tree that can grow big and just give you a lot of wood for mostly crafting and recipe purposes. But if you like the redwood log for building, then it works great for that as well. And here, let me show you what happens if you do put like a solid, like non-replaceable block here, like a stone block. And by non-replaceable, I mean like one that the tree can't really replace. If you place these blocks all alongside the dirt to act as like a little guide to easily place the dirt, this is what will happen. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Look at how many trees did not grow fully. And like we can keep speeding up time, passing through the time, and they are not growing any further. Here's another issue with having like these stone blocks here. It acts as another like solid point for the tree to be connected to. And so it requires breaking more logs or breaking this to make the tree fully come down. Also, don't be afraid to build it near like a hillside or something, because it will still grow pretty well, even like with like dirt or like a hillside like this close here. It will still do pretty well. But the only thing you have to worry about is if sometimes the block will grow on top of like the hillside block, and so then you just have to like remove those blocks for it to break. Thanks for watching the video, especially to those sticking around towards the end to hear the stupid, silly extra stuff. And hopefully I'll see you in another video. Bye-bye.